Good afternoon. Well, good evening, good afternoon. Doesn't matter. I'm here, Key Cruise. Welcome to Cruise with Key. And today, Thursday, told you I'll be here. Today we're going to talk about identity. And as you can see, I came straight from work because if I did not, I probably would not be here right now. I was like, let me make sure all my stuff is together. I made sure to actually charge up my MacBook before I even went to work because I knew that. So I'm very repetitious, you guys. When I come home from work, I literally like shower, put on my night clothes, figure out what I'm wearing the next day, and then I probably watch something that came on last night on demand so I can fast forward through commercials. And then yeah, sometimes I actually do read a book or I journal. It depends. I actually need to get on my Peloton and my stepper and stuff like that. Um yeah, but here I am. Okay. And today we're going to talk about identity, and I want to talk about identity because um I want to get back to my storytelling, and today is story time. And we haven't had story time in a while. Um and I told you why. Sometimes I don't want to just come on here and story. Um I want to be able to talk about what I've learned through sharing, my story and things that I've, probably went through during the week and how I navigated through that, through things that I've learned while I've been on this healing journey. Got it? Good. So at any rate, um, I've told you how I was not raised by my mother or my father. And I told you that I lived with my cousin for quite some time. And then I was in and out of foster care, went to a group home, went to a military program, actually lived on a military um, facility for 6 months. It was like a GED program for bad children or children that needed discipline or what have you. Graduated and all of that. But I didn't get my GED, but it's all good because I graduated high school like 2 years later, which was just a year behind my regular year. So yeah, and so because of that, I struggled with really like knowing who I am. Especially being as though like when I live with my cousin, she'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's just kid and pebbles. Those are pudding kids," and so I never felt like I belonged at all. And I think that that was the start of a real life identity crisis. Um, I've gotten a lot better. I still, at the age that I am now, to be honest, I still struggle. I really do. And it's because, I guess, because, you know what? Yeah, thank you, God. I think that I struggle because I have never like done this type of healing process before. And doing this, I learned so much more about myself. And because of that, it's like, wow, I didn't realize this, and I didn't realize this, and I didn't realize that. Um, and so the more that I realize things, the more that I can identify with things that I didn't even know that I still struggle with, and or realizing things that are a struggle. And or realizing triggers and traumas or what have you. Again, I never went through nothing like this before. I've always journaled, always been in and out of therapy. But like I told y'all, I'm in therapy now. I've been going to a therapist consistently now. Mm, mm, That's a long pause because I'm really trying to think how long it's been. But I know it's coming up. I know it's coming up on a year. If it's not been a year already, it's definitely coming up um, on a year. I think it'll be a year, maybe April, May. Man, maybe April, May will be a year consistently going to see a therapist. And it's important for me to do that. Um, it's important for me to do that while I'm doing this, so that when I do really tell my story from a authorist standpoint, um, then it'll be a lot more probably detailed than what I started to do. I got a little bit more, I got a long way to go. But at any rate, I think that that was the first time that I realized that I had identity crisis because it wasn't like, oh, this is my cousin. I always felt like a visitor and, my cousin home. Um, and I wish that she was still alive so that I can actually ask, why did you do that? You know what I mean? Um, and then every time I was in a foster home, like they were like, you're not my mom. I mean, I'm not your mom. You're not my child. You can call me this. You can call me Miss This or Aunt This, So in school, nobody knew nothing. Only one person knew, and that was because we were real life best friends. So nobody else knew. And I remember after leaving my cousin house for the second time after being molested by her son, and she placed me in she took me down to 609 H Street, um to Child and Family Services, and when she did that, that was a new set of an identity situation because now I don't even feel like a family member. I feel like I can't even describe how I felt. I know that I was sad. I was embarrassed. I felt abandoned. I felt rejected. I felt misunderstood. I felt thrown away, um, abandoned. I felt hurt. I felt sadness. I felt anger. There was nothing positive that I felt. And sometimes when you go through things of that magnitude, your identity becomes those things that you feel. So you walk around angry, you walk around hurt, you walk around feeling abandoned and rejected. I mean, you put yourself in these situations that seems like it becomes a cycle, or it really messes up your mental because anytime somebody really come into your life, you always second guessing it, and it calls you to become an overthinker. Now you've become this very young overthinker because you don't know who's genuine, who's authentic, who loves you, who cares about you, who's going to be there for you, who's going to protect you, who's responsible for you. um you think about all these things, and yeah, so you create this wall and a bubble, and you become unrecognizable to yourself because you're like, I don't know who I am because I was always called kid or Putin's daughter, or this is my foster child. Oh, you best believe foster parents, they never cared about making sure that was known at all. um And that bothered me because shoot, I was always labeled, you know what I mean? And so that really started to affect me more than any time when I moved from there to Mr. and Mrs. Blank. Y'all know I don't say no real names. Um, but because they were older married couple, and they was like, you can call me grandma, grandpa, grandma, and granddad. And I called them both Mr. and Mrs. This, and sometimes grandma and granddad. If I even called them, I think I always called them Mr. and Mrs. And it was because one, I never knew what it felt like to have grandparents. I ain't never met nobody. I never met my grandparents, not on my mother's side, not on my father's side. So I don't know what it feels like to have a grandmother or a grandfather. And the way that they treated me, mm-mm. And this is actually the first time that I'm no longer living in the same household as my youngest sister. That played a huge role too. So living there, it was lonely. I felt alone. And I wasn't the only child there at all. And that's the thing about foster care before the molestation and foster care after the molestation is two total different feelings because I always was with my little sister, you know what I'm saying? Versus this time now I'm going through all of this by myself. And it's no longer, I don't know why I did not feel like, oh, putting kid or whatever, because there was no this kid in Theo Shore, kid in Pebbles putting kids. It's never that. Um, all that stopped. And so that was hurtful. And a very lonely place. So going to school, I didn't have her. It was just me. And the people that lived in the house, I mean, we was all different ages. And unfortunately, I was in fifth grade and I remember everybody knowing if you lived at Mr. and Mrs. Blank house, then they knew that you was a foster child. And they treated you as such. They laughed at you, they picked on you, labeled you. I mean, they were just mean. And that bothered me. I mean, it bothered me because I'm like, do y'all know why I'm here? And in fifth grade, you're not going around telling nobody nothing. Like that was not something that I never repeated what happened. Like it wasn't a conversation because I guess at a very young age to repeat what I experienced will cause no telling what it will cause mentally or emotionally. I don't know. Um, and so, to be honest with you all, I started to fight a lot, like in the home and at school, because I was always picked on. And I think that some of it with them picking on me was just me not dealing with what I had already experienced prior to moving into this situation. And that's the truth of the matter. If you don't deal with something prior to going into a next situation, every time something triggers you or poke at you or prick you, whatever you want to say, it's going to cause you to react out of your normal way. And I also think that I was finally at a place where, like, no, you don't get to say, do, you don't get to say just anything to me. You don't get to just do anything to me because I just came out of a situation where I couldn't take up for myself. Every time I got molested, his hand was over my mouth and said, you better not say anything. You better not say anything. You better not. And so I guess because how it all transpired, like at the end, and how I was blamed for it and removed from my own blood home to go into a system that you just took me out of because how I was verbally and physically abused. I go in your home, I'm sexually abused, and then I get physically abused because I got whipped. Now I'm going into an environment where I'm getting like joned on because I'm a Bama, or I'm getting joned on because oh she live in that foster home, and because I'm short. I'm 5 feet. If you don't know, I'm 5 feet even. Okay, and I've always been short. And in elementary school, I remember going to this particular school where I was living with them, and they thought it was okay to give me a nickname called Duck Butt, and they would quack, 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 quack all around recess. Until one day I just I just, I just reacted and I got in trouble. And I'm like, here I go again in a whole nother situation, being labeled and labeled and for what I look like, and for the circumstance that I'm in that I didn't even put myself in. And now I'm struggling with another identity. Like, so now I'm struggling with insecurity. See what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like, I never thought about feeling insecure. When I lived with my cousin and my family, there was nothing to feel insecure about. We all dressed alike. So it didn't bother me. Like, I never, to this day, I think I say it all the time. Name brands don't bother me. Designer clothes does not bother me. Like, I don't care about none of that. I really don't. I don't. Um and living in the home, it was abusive. It was abusive. I mean, they were mean. They were mean. It's what you call like nice nasty. You ever heard of nice nasty? And they were Jehovah Witnesses. So we would go to the Kingdom Hall. Now, mind you, I told you that living with my cousin, we went to church multiple times a week. Multiple times a week. I used to lead devotion, scripture. We were ushers. We were doing offering. I mean, she went from a evangelist to, yeah, she was still an evangelist. I don't think she was a pastor at the time. I don't think so. However, we were still always in church because she always preached, and then we did the singing, little small church. So going from that environment to Jehovah Witness, you gotta go to the Kingdom Hall, and we had to, like, on the weekends drop off watchtowers and what's the other book? Watchtowers and something else. I can't remember, y'all. Again, I said fifth grade. Watchtowers and something else. It'll come to me. So we had to go door to door on the weekends and stuff. Oh, and you better, I'm talking about studying that stuff was just like studying your homework because we're going to that Kingdom Hall. Oh, and you better raise your hand. If you were not active when you was at the Kingdom Hall, oh, you getting your tail whooped in the house. And it was so bad, y'all, living at that house, that because of, I guess, my behavior in school and fighting in the house, because I had to take up for myself, that, like, when they have people over, you better not come out their room. Don't come out their room for nothing, not even to go to the bathroom. But I gotta go to the bathroom. You're not getting no water, no nothing. When you in your room, you in your room. So I used to like wet the bed. Then I get punished and whipped for wetting the bed. But I'm like, but you told me don't leave if you have company. So I'm confused. You couldn't hold it or just wait. Wait, I'm about to go to sleep. Like, I'm in fifth grade. Like, I'm confused. I'm so confused. And it just got so bad that they were so clever. See, this is what you call clever. They were so clever that they said, we want her gone. But instead of taking her down 609 8th Street, we actually have a daughter that have children too. Slim. Now I'm back in Maryland. Whoo! We're going. That's next week. I set all that up today to tell you, like, identity crisis is real when you are bounced from one situation to another and you don't deal with it. You have to deal with your crisis before you move. You have to deal with your crisis. And if you have no time to deal with a crisis before you move, once you realize those identities, you need to go. Guess where you need to go? Journal, or tell your social worker, because when you're in foster care, you have a social worker. Reach out to, oh Jesus, I wish that the things that I know now, and I wish I knew back then, but I give myself some grace because I was a child. And that's something that I know for a fact that I still struggle with. I still struggle with some of the things that I did not do because I know that I was a child, but I just wish that I was a different child. I really do wish that I wasn't just so hurt and just so broken. I wish that I was just a completely different child. I wish that I was, because had I was, I wouldn't be at this age still struggling internally. You know what I mean? And I beat myself up, and I pray about it all the time, about beating myself up about things I had no control over. I had no control. I just wish that I did things differently. I wish that I did, or I wish that I had the support to say, "Hey, I'm noticing something in you." And so because I noticed this, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get you some help. I thank God that I finally got into a place where I told myself I need some help. I knew that I needed help. I told myself I went to get my own help, because I don't want to keep dealing with insecurities and feeling abandoned and feel rejected. I hate rejection. I've told y'all I don't ask nobody for nothing because I don't want to hear no. I don't. There's so many things that I be wanting to reach out to people about, but I don't, because if you're not available when I need you, I take it personal. That's in me though. That has nothing to do with the people that I have. That has everything to do with me. It has everything to do with me. And the more that I deal with it and I recognize it and I identify the fact that I struggle with beating myself up about the things that I had no control over, then the better I will become with being free. I told y'all that's the meaning of what's going on. The meaning of Cruise with Key is so that Key can cruise and just fly with no care in the world. And I know that I seem like I'm such a people person and all of that, and I am, but it's also because I have a sound mind. You know what I mean? And when you have a sound mind, that sound mind pushes you outside of that bubble that you created to say, I got to do better. Identify these things. And the more that you identify these things, now that you identify them, work on them, acknowledge them, work on them. And if you can't work on them by yourself, tell your therapist, tell your spouse, tell your significant other, tell your circle, tell your support, tell yourself, journal it, tell God, write it down. Go on the Bible app and say rejection. And all of these scriptures about rejection is going to come up. All of these Bible plans about rejection is going to come up. But you first got to identify the issue, the root of the issue. And the root of all of my stuff is from my childhood. And guess what? The more that I dig it up and the more that I deal with it, the better I'm going to be, first to me, then to you. And we're going to get more subscribers. We're going to get more viewers. We're going to get more listeners. We're going to get more support, because it's going to become a movement. It doesn't have to just be Cruise with Key because my last name Cruise. You can cruise with yourself. Cruise. That's a word in the dictionary. That don't belong to me, you know. Cruise with yourself. Find out how to cruise with yourself in a way where when you put your, it's like this, when you put your car on cruise control, you're not really doing anything but dwelling in a lovely trip, if you will, journey. You're going to somewhere and you're putting your car on cruise control so you can just be straight chilling. And that's what I want to do. I want to be straight chilling. Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. Why not? I deserve it. I deserve it all. I deserve the world. I deserve everything that God has for me. And so do you. But the only way you really going to be able to receive it, claim it, affirm it, and manifest it, you have to identify with the things that is inside. Got to deal with it. Okay, identify it. And I'll get a little deeper. I'll get a little deeper. next week, though. I love you. I appreciate you. Happy Thursday. Today is 222. Today is 222. Look it up. Look it up. What a wonderful number. What a wonderful number. What a wonderful day. What a wonderful weekend I want you to have. Thank you so much for cruising with me. Thank you for vibing with me. I appreciate you. I love you. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Okay? Follow me. Have a good one.